Well, if you've been following along with us here, we've been already starting to make those new crop 25 sales when we look out to the corn, bean, and wheat market. And after this report here from the USDA in January, we just wanted to put out some potential projections here on this 25-26 crop with the newest numbers. So that's what we're going to get into here today. As always, keep in mind everything is for education and example purposes. Make sure that you guys know and understand your own risk tolerance as we go through the presentation. So here is a supply-demand table on corn, and really what we want to come down to is that bottom line when you look at the ending stocks number. And really, okay, when you take a yield of 175 to 185, we think that's a fair estimate of a range, okay, with 180 being about trend line. And, on the lower end at a 1.4 billion bushel carryout, that's certainly a little bit more supportive of corn. Is it enough to really get a sustained move above 5? Probably not, but at the same time, it's going to hold us, off of those potential lows of like 350. Now you swing to the other side of the chart, or even if you come in at another trend line yield, you're probably looking at, 450, 475, kind of the high end of the range, with the potential for 350 on the low end of the range, if we can get some higher, yields in here. When we quickly look over to planted acres, as we've stated in the past, it seems like it's more of a transitionary period. We would expect the corn and bean acres to kind of come back to more, normal levels or more of a normal split. So where corn area was down quite a bit here last year, we would expect some acres to come back, and then we'll probably lose a few acres on beans. And then keep in mind, the one thing that helping out corn as well is that the world stocks are a little bit more supportive. But anyways, we want to just get this over to you on a chart. So here's your monthly December corn chart. And 350, like we said, is really the low end of the range, with $5 probably the high end without a major crop failure. And so every time we kind of get above this 450 area on D25 corn, that's going to kind of trigger a sale for us. A couple other targets we're watching here right now, especially with South America's crop yet to be planted, will probably be the 475 area, and somewhere around 495 bucks. It's certainly achievable, if there's a good weather threat in South America between now and U.S. planting. On the soybean side of things, again, when we scroll down to that ending stocks number here, you can see that if we shoot it for a trend line or a better yield, we certainly are going to continue to maintain healthy ending stocks numbers, and that's certainly not bullish. Beans over, 11 bucks, 10.50, 11. Now, if we come in a little bit on the lower end of the yield, down at 142, that's a little bit more your scenario where this market is trying to sit up here at the higher side of things. When we compare beans, though, to corn, we have to keep in mind that the world stocks are a little bit more restrictive. They're much healthier than maybe what the corn market is. The other thing why we've been a little bit more aggressive here on beans lately is that the South America window is closing for crop issues here. They're already starting with the bulk of harvest coming up here in the next week or two. It looks like they're going to have a good crop, whereas the corn crop here in South America is yet to be planted. So that's why we've been taking more advantage of these up moves in beans. But as we look again to this chart, you've kind of got a $9 low in here as you work up, to a higher ending stocks and a higher yield level. Whereas if we can get these ending stocks down, you're probably looking around somewhere in this $11 area. So again, when we consider using the top third of our range, when Nova is kind of above this 1050 level, Nova 25, we want to be making some sales in here to get going on this cash average. Over on Chicago wheat, this one's kind of a muted in the same storyline. Everything is basically, healthy, if you will, and then world stocks are a bit more on the supportive side. So when we put this out here on the chart, you've probably got good support when we factor in world stocks, somewhere around $5 on wheat, and we would call the upper end of the range somewhere near 650 as things sit today. That being said, we get into that $6 area on July. That's typically historically a good sale. We'll look at doing something there as we're in that top third of our projected range. As we wrap things up in here, first off, we want to start out by saying that as marketers, we always want to use the baseline, set our baseline at trendline yield and then moderate weather. Obviously, things can change from there, but we need to go with what the averages suggest, and that's where we want to start when we're making some of our projections. Now, when we divide this crop up into into bullish, bearish, or supportive and restrictive, we would lean a little bit more to the corn and wheat side as supportive. Like we said, you still have the South America corn crop to be planted in their growing season. Maybe we can argue that it's going to get off to a late start depending on how harvest goes for beans. And then as far as the wheat market goes, you always have the concern of global conflict that can spark some rallies on the wheat side of things. As we flip over to beans, our lean there is a little bit more of the bearish side of things. The South America crop is getting wrapped up, or the harvest is going to be starting here really soon. It looks good. And then we have to wonder if the U.S. is going to therefore take on less demand, as South America is the cheapest on the global market. At the end of the day, it's always important to diversify your marketing strategy as we head into a new crop marketing year. Make sure you divide your sales between either futures board position and cash sales. Make sure maybe use some options, and then keep some bushels open. How you divide, that's always up to you. Typically, we go with a third. You could do 25, whatever you're comfortable with. Down below that, we just wanted to point out how you're diversifying. When you're selling futures or doing HTAs, you're essentially fixing your risk outright. You know what price you're getting. If you want to have a little bit more wiggle room without necessarily getting blown out to the downside, that's when you want to consider some options. They can set price floors while giving you upside potential. And then your open bushels are obviously self-explanatory. You have no coverage on them, so if the market swings higher, you participate, but if the market swings lower, you're going to participate in that as well. And that's what you're going to want to figure out, how to kind of mix and match your sales strategies. And then when it comes to a crop failure, there's no doubt that we'll probably have some sort of a weather issue. Whether that turns into an actual crop failure or not, that's always kind of hard to tell. So what you have to do is essentially budget your crop, set aside a budget in your crop that you want to bet on a crop failure. Now when we're looking at betting on a crop failure, do you want to bet it basically on open bushels or gambling stocks where you have no downside protection if you're wrong? Or would you rather look at something like a fixed risk at the money call, where maybe if the market moves up, you're going to participate right away, not necessarily penny for penny, but if the market goes down or if that crop failure doesn't materialize, you have what your downside risk is limited, or if you're going to sit there with physical bushels, maybe get some puts under the market. So these are just some ideas on how we're looking to start to attack this new crop marketing year. Certainly fairly easy early in the season, but as we start to rebuild these balance sheets, like we said, in our opinion, if you want to have a little bit more of a bullish lean, maybe look at your corn and wheat contracts, and we're a little bit more defensive on the bean side of things. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. As always, please like and subscribe to the videos, and we certainly enjoy making the content for you.